the Sports Doyen. I'm Kushagr, and today I'm joined with two newcomers, two debutants to the channel. We are here for the Liverpool versus Arsenal preview, and I'll just first of all like to welcome you guys to the channel. Welcome Susheel and welcome Sulaksh. A
Hi
very,
guys.
very warm welcome to you. Hope you guys, both of you, are doing well. Susheel, hope I know it's been a tough time all around, all over the world.
Yeah, man. Everything's well. Just you know how it is dealing with this whole thing. So just locked up at home, and good thing we have football to keep us company.
Yeah, I think that's just one of the very few things we have to keep us company these days, especially
Yeah.
company being the operative word here. But yeah, it's been tough. It's been tough. But with you being a Liverpool supporter, I think that's slightly nullified there, at least in a more empirical sense, I guess.
Uh, yeah. And the good part is, I think since the lockdown, there's been a very short gap between the two seasons. So, obviously the title win was a great achievement for the club and for the fan base. It was something they'd been waiting for a long time. So it's been good, but it would have obviously been better if it was normal circumstances. But that doesn't take away from it too much.
Yeah, and so Sulaksh, how have you been doing? Arsenal sort of a slight positive momentum over the past couple of weeks, maybe couple of months, and also just for our viewers, this is probably the first TSD video we've ever done, wherein all participants are in the same city. So
Mm,
that's a
yeah,
first for us. That's
That's
a first for us.
geographical
Uh,
first.
two of them in the
yes.
same house, by the way.
Yeah, come on. We're not giving all of it away. Come on,
Mm.
man. So yeah. So coming back to Sulaksh, how you been doing, man? Hope you've been safe and
It's
everything
been
else.
it's been good. The lockdown's not been kind to any of us, and one was hoping that there'd be football to keep us company, but they took it away. So now that it's come back, it's a lot better. And I mean, it's been going well in terms of the Arsenal front as well. And I'm just looking forward for worse days because I know this is not this is not exactly how it's gonna end up at the end of the season. But positive for now.
Yeah, and thanks for asking, guys. I've been good as well. And so
Yes, yes.
as far as football is
Hope you've been
concerned,
well.
I'm just glad it's not a United video, and I have to moderate this one, and I don't have to talk about it. So looking forward to that. Looking
Don't
forward to
worry,
not.
we'll get some digs in. That's okay.
Looking
Uh,
for,
That doesn't stop us.
you can count on it.
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, coming back to the main part. I'll start with the defending champions. I guess they won that, right? So
Yeah.
So,
Liverpool's form has been a bit patchy, I would say, at least defensively, since
Yeah.
since since the since we all come back from lockdown. Earlier, the whole concept was, yeah, I mean, I won't say it was a concept. Earlier, the whole reality of the situation was that the title was in the bag,
Yeah.
and it was just a matter of time. It was just a matter of playing those games, and Liverpool would eventually, get to that, get to the holy grail, and they did. Of course, it was a fantastic season for the club. Something that it was a real shame, that the fans didn't get to celebrate with the team and vice versa as well. But all in all, the job was done by Klopp's team and fantastic achievement. You guys have made some really significant improvements to the squad. Haven't really lost any major first team players at all. There was even talk of Wijnaldum going. He hasn't ended up going. Doesn't look like he'll go now. And all in all, I think the defensive aspect, of course, being a slight worry, especially the Leeds game.
Right.
I'm sure you must have been surprised
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
The ease with which the Leeds team was opening up Liverpool, that was a bit surprising there. But how have you been, man? How have you seen Liverpool post the lockdown? Because if you
Mm.
if there was a league table drawn up post lockdown, I don't think Liverpool would be at the top. So, uh,
Liverpool would be sixth in that league table. I have it in front of me.
oh,
They got 17 points after lockdown, which is the worst of any of the. Actually, this is not the traditional top six, but this is post lockdown, whoever got the most points. So City were top of that table, and Liverpool were actually sixth. So that's one concerning thing that, I think some of the fans were really concerned about the post lockdown form. You could explain some of it away by just saying the title was wrapped up and, there was not a lot left to play for. But I know how Jurgen Klopp runs the team. and he's not the kind of manager who lets his players take the foot off the pedal, just like that. So I'm not really sure what that is, and more, something that's more concerning. I'm not really sure if that's been fixed, right? And you saw in the Leeds game, as you mentioned earlier, though I think Leeds are going to be the surprise package of the season. I think they'll do really well. But just besides that, it was kind of concerning to see how easily the Liverpool defense was sort of split in that game. But I think overall, post lockdown, yeah, it's not been great, but it's not been that bad either. I don't want to get too critical of a title winning team, right? They are the defending champions, and I do hope, and to some extent I trust that these guys, they're all solid professionals. They won the European Cup about 12 months ago, and the league title much more recently than that. So I think they'll turn it back on when they need to. But yeah, I'll be keeping my eye out for any hints of weaknesses that may come up. But maybe we'll talk about transfer subsequently. But I think that's another dimension to this. So we'll come back to that maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I think a lot has been made of Liverpool's form. Though if you see some of the performances, they actually, the team was found wanting. But there've been a lot of individual errors which really the coach
Hmm.
can't
Yeah.
exactly account for.
Right.
So the first time I actually saw Liverpool play bad as a team was during the Community Shield, and I think I'll
Yeah.
segue into an Arsenal fan here, the trophy that you've already won, this season. So yeah, that match was interesting because there were signs, there were hints during the post-lockdown period, Sulaksh, that Liverpool's game was a little passive, and there were also hints about Arsenal actually improving towards towards the second half of the post-lockdown period, because you guys also did not start off well. Uh, how do you think Arsenal have been? We'll essentially try to focus it on the post-lockdown period. As Susheel said, we'll come to the transfer activity a little later on. But how have you seen? I'd say
So I
since Martinez came in and till now.
since Martinez, so that's a good point to start. So after that second game week in lockdown when we lost to Brighton and we lost Leno to an injury, it was pretty gloomy. I won't say otherwise because we were seeing a lot of the old things, and it's not just about different personnel, but it's about the mentality that we have as a group of 16 players. When the chips are down, they just keep going down. So that's something that we thought that Arteta was working on fixing, and after those couple of weeks, it was the banter's out again. Arteta, PE teacher, get him out, get a real manager in. But there was still a difference in the way that we played in that run for the FA Cup. And you can see, so there are some things like, as a fan of your team, you can probably tell by the first 20 minutes of the game, you know what's
Yep.
coming in the next 70. Maybe you would be wrong about a couple of things here, maybe a one dislike there or an error there, but as a general flow of things, for people who've been watching it for a long time, you get to know कि आज तो भाई ऐसा दिन है, it's gonna happen this way. So
Yeah.
I think that Community Shield, like you mentioned, I don't count it as a trophy victory per se, but I put it as a landmark victory because the game that we won against Liverpool after lockdown, they basically just gave the game to us, and after we got the second goal, Liverpool weren't that team that was chasing the Invincibles or the team that was chasing the title that they really had felt the need to even go for that game. I'm sure they must have been trying to win, but not at that intensity. Whereas if that would have been happening in December, they would have gone for it, very differently. So I think in terms of those two games, that has given us a completely different picture onto how Arteta can play against bigger teams, and that's something that we have gotten to know since the time he came in. He had an unfortunate loss to Chelsea. We beat Man United. We had a good game against Chelsea where we came back from 10 men down and equalized. Then we had moments against Wolves, against Sheffield. Like even these teams, I consider to be the teams because that's, like, to be honest, that's our level. We have to compete against the Wolves and the Sheffields to even get back into the top four. So you can't take these teams lightly, and you can't take those wins lightly. So I think Arteta has bought a lot of mentality and a lot of technique and solidarity. Like now we are sticking to a play in a game. So there's one thing that a lot of people haven't probably noticed, but for us, the problem under Wenger was that we used to go for a play and it did not work out. And then we used to go for that play again and then it did not work out. And then we used to, after 10 minutes, go for that play again. It did not work out. So it was, and we have always been a one trick pony in the last 4 5 years, whether it's been Ozil sending it to Sanchez or Sanchez just doing something magical, Theo Walcott popping out of here and there a couple of times. But
Mm.
we've not had that, that array of tricks and that like ace up our sleeves whenever there is a situation that needs to be countered in a different way, whether it be in a big match against Liverpool or whether it be in a small match against Brighton. We've always like seem to have no response for any kind of an aggressive play that a team has been putting on us, and that's something that he's been trying to fix. I think because I see a lot of times I'm very confused about his decision to select young players ahead of established midfielders, established defenders. Even I've been very critical of Joe Willock sometimes about why he's starting and what is he doing. But in the end, the energy that he brings and the energy that these young lads are bringing under Arteta is something that has probably made the difference coming into this season.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. There is a definite change in the way Arsenal have approached their matches, and I would say that the change has been visible. It was visible prior to the lockdown as well, and Arteta has been influential, and he's rated very highly. There is no doubt about that. He's worked under a top class manager. There are hints of Pep when you look at him. Unfortunately, he's not in the privileged position as Pep. I don't think even at Arsenal's level, I don't think Pep has ever gotten a squad at that level in his career because I
I
can't
doubt it.
imagine.
See, Pep Guardiola basically has had a wonderful team for him playing. So it's always his level has always been about beating different types of the best in
Right.
different countries. He's never had to have that level where he's establishing himself in his own country. That's only what
But
started happening to him when he came to City.
I also think if Arteta does do well with this team, that'll solidify his credentials much better than maybe a
Yeah.
Lampard at Chelsea spending so much
Yes.
money, right?
That's
I
true.
think
Yes.
that'll
Yes.
lend him more credibility.
Yeah.
And I'm honestly a fan of Arteta. I think honestly I only watch Arsenal play every time we play them, right? I don't get around to watching a lot of their games or their highlights. But one thing I have noticed is ever since he's become manager, you can see there's a steady improvement in the team, right? Um, and someone who watches them more often than I do, like Sulaksh, he would be able to explain why that is. But I can tell you as a rival fan, you can see that improvement coming, and that's always a good sign. When maybe 2 3 years ago, I remember Firmino scored a hat trick, and at that time there was this thing among Liverpool fans that Arsenal won't be a difficult game, just because we'd won 2 or 3 in a row. But now I don't think anyone takes it for granted. So yeah, I think he's doing a great job.
That Firmino game was, I think, in this Reddit.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Scored first, and I was the happiest man in the world. And then he let in three in the 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Game over.
Yeah, I remember watching that match. I remember being
Mm.
flabbergasted by Arsenal. But I guess Arteta, if he ever if by some chance he ever saw this video, I think this is the kind of response he would want to evoke in rival
Right.
fans as well, right? So isn't that your objective? Because from forgive me, Sulak, for saying this, from a point of ridicule, you've taken the team to a point. No, I'm
It's
not.
it's
I'm not kidding. Like it
true.
is it is what it was. I'm just not trying to mince my words. So from a point of ridicule, you've taken the team to respectability, and
Yeah,
now
yeah,
now genuine. If there is a reason you deserve to be considered where you are. Even
exactly.
I know a lot of Arsenal fans were disappointed last weekend with the victory. And imagine just a sea change. You're bloody disappointed with the victory now. Whereas just about a year or so back on AFTV,
I'd
everyone
have
was
snatched a
crying.
hand for a 2-1 at
Yeah,
home
Let's just
under
say
Emery.
I think AFTV is not going to do as well over the coming seasons.
We're coming for
yeah.
them. Yeah.
Sure, sure,
So
yeah, yeah,
no,
yeah.
so another point I wanted to add was because I mean it's painful, but it's true. We have been a ridiculed club, and for a person who's grown up in that era with the conventional top four, there was a time when drawing at home to the team who's eighth in the league was a shocker.
Yeah,
We used to talk about it
yeah.
about weeks. United drew Fulham at home. How did that happen? And to come to an era where we can't even beat Brighton to secure a Champions League spot, and we have to rely on other teams slipping up to even be
Yeah.
considered for the Europa League. So it has been a tough time in the last 6, 7 years, and I think that it's not something that's been down to just the set of players. There have been a lot of negativity around the club, which is,
Mm,
I would say, it's no one's fault. That's just how the club works. Like Arsenal have fit into that, like it's like a global ridicule. Like everyone likes to ridicule Arsenal, but everyone doesn't like to praise Arsenal. When people are praising Arsenal, that's cool. But when the chips are down, everyone would want to pile on because it's the easy target. They've been great, they're doing badly, and they like not winning trophies for a long time. So it's been like that since you can say 3, 4 years, but that's changing. I have seen that change because
yep.
it's just the mentality, like you said, the confidence that we have. Once we as fans have confidence in the players and the team, that is when starts changing. And with Arteta, if the results are not as it is, I don't expect us to like win the league or challenge for the league this season, but there will be disappointment, like you said, if we do not challenge for the top four, and that's something that we've all like by till last year. I was saying stuff like, yeah, I hope ye haar jaye so that we get the Champions League spot. So that kind of
Yeah.
mentality has to change.
Yeah.
Yeah, and talking about confidence, I'd like to come to you, Sushil. Talking about the confidence with Liverpool. I'm sure during the beginning of the transfer window, there must have been some
Yeah.
doubts. There must have been some doubts. It's essentially the club
So,
tried. Yeah, the club tried to come on. Let me get a little bit of a dig in there. The club tried to furlough.
yeah,
The club tried to furlough people, lay them
Oh yeah, they
off.
did.
yeah, yeah.
They wanted government subsidies. It found COVID to be a very difficult time.
Mm,
Now they've gone on and spent 40 odd million on Diogo Jota and gotten in
mm,
Thiago Alcantara. I mean, what a fantastic signing there! And I know a lot of people are questioning his fitness considering his record in the past and considering the physicality of the league. But I think just feel like he's transcended into that phase of his career where at the next 2 3 years at least he'll just boss that midfield. So I
yeah,
feel I feel you guys have leveled up, so that must surely help. Even with the Leeds game, as you had mentioned, you guys still came through, right? So
yeah.
Chelsea, I don't think it was a really a test. I felt
Mm,
Lampard's out thought himself. I don't think he made
yeah,
the right
I think so too.
selections. I don't think he played the right system to play Liverpool. I felt they were very passive even before Christensen got sent off, before they conceded and everything else. Did not
Mm.
feel Chelsea were doing that well, and also felt Havertz and Werner had a really off day. So I think Arsenal might be a tougher test for you. But beyond that, how do you feel going into the season? Because I think you should be
So,
very
so,
confident.
so first, I will respond to your very first comment there. I think the fan base was pretty against the decision to of the club to try and follow, the staff. And I think the way I think about it now is it was businessmen trying to make a business decision in a in some for something that's very emotional to a lot of people, right? And I know a lot of people wouldn't be as angry if it was some other business, but because this is sport, people feel very strongly about it. Particularly, I think in this case, the people of Liverpool. So they backed out eventually, which was the right thing to do. So good on them there. But I don't think they should have tried it in the first place. To your second point about you know how we should feel about Thiago, and I haven't really seen Jota play since he joined. Obviously, he hasn't started. He's not even starting today in the cup. So I'll talk about Thiago. I think you're right. It's a level up, and in general, what I believe is one of the things that's been a challenge for us. despite the seasons that we've had the last two seasons, is creativity through the middle. And it's really lacking sometimes, and it really shows. I think over the last two seasons, our fullbacks and our wingers have really, really bailed us out in a lot of games, right? And it's worked well for us. There's no reason why, we should need to change. But I think this is something Ferguson also used to do. He always used to buy players from a position of strength. And I think that's what Klopp knows he has to do also. There were some rumors going around. I don't know if this is true or not, but apparently Klopp insisted on Thiago joining the club despite the management sort of pushing for him not to do it because of his injury record, because of the fact that he's 29 years old, which ironically is the same age as Kevin De Bruyne, but some people still have an issue with it. And despite the fact that he does have huge wages. So despite all that, Klopp pushed for it, and I think that first game he played really showed why he did it. I think he gelled really well with the team, and I think more importantly, he brought dynamism to that midfield that I haven't seen in the last, I don't know, since maybe Xabi Alonso,
Yeah,
right?
I was going to mention Alonso.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, if he can give us, like you were saying, 2 or 3 good years, I'd be happy with that, right? He doesn't have to become a club legend, and I don't think that's how most modern, giant clubs operate. You maybe get 2 or 3 good years out of a really good player, and that's enough to win you maybe 5 or 6 trophies, right? So let's see where we go from here. I think the key thing will be ensuring he stays fit, and Liverpool have been really good about that for the last two seasons. None of our major players have been injured. So I'm not as concerned about the fitness because I think there's something going around behind the scenes in terms of how they're managing their nutrition and general health. Um, and it's worked so far with the other players. Let's see how it works with him. And yeah, I mean, it's just been one game. I was pretty happy. I'm looking forward to seeing more of him. Looking forward to him running the midfield. I don't know if he'll play against Arsenal, honestly. Though because Klopp's slow to integrate new players into his system. I was very surprised when he was brought on last week. So we'll see. I'm a little skeptical about him playing against Arsenal. But if he does play, it'll be a hell of a match.
Yeah, all in all, I feel the simple fact that the club was 18 points ahead of its nearest rival, and
Yeah,
in my opinion, you guys have strengthened better as compared to City. Even though City probably numerically have more number of players, and they might do
yeah,
something more as well in the window.
right.
That remains to be seen. If they get someone like Koulibaly, I'd probably shift my opinion towards City in that case because I still feel with Ake. I don't know if he is the
Mm.
authoritative centre back that you need at the end, and plus with him and Laporte both being left footed. So I guess that's a discussion for another day.
Yeah,
Coming to
I was gonna ask you a question. If we can just spare 2 minutes on this.
yeah, sure.
At what point do we start saying out loud that Guardiola doesn't know how to coach centre backs?
I don't
Oh,
know. I don't know. I don't know.
that's
Eh,
a
You
controversial one, my friend. See,
yeah.
mm.
I believe that that's actually a very valid point because
How many centre backs has he been
how
through
many
at the
centre
club?
backs and how many centre back pairings along with
Yeah,
you can even throw in a keeper there. Let's not forget he
yeah,
bought in Claudio Bravo and got rid of him after near like without really a thought about the 50 mil that went there.
exactly. So just maybe you can discuss it with one of your City fans next time they're on. Maybe
Yeah,
you can
sure.
delete this part if
We'll
you think it's too controversial. But yeah,
No, not at all, not at all.
play them a
And
clip.
I see you talked about actually making sure you strengthen from a position of strength.
right.
You can throw barbs from a position of strength as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I think you're well within your rights to say that. I actually, as soon as you said it, I was just calculating in my head what are the centre backs has he developed. I think of PK, but then I do not think of PK because PK spent
yeah.
3 years at United, and
Also Busquets, I think there,
yeah, but
and
Busquets wasn't a CB.
and Puyol. Yeah,
Mash, no. So I don't think. See, he didn't even effectively replace Mascherano. If you look at it,
yeah, yeah.
and he didn't. Sorry, he didn't even effectively replace Puyol. He brought in
Mm,
Mascherano to do that.
yeah,
He got lucky in that sense that Mascherano was like next level. being a
I
centre
think,
back. So
yeah,
and even at Bayern, you're right. He put in Javi Martinez at that centre back,
yeah,
right? So he has that, and he's used Fernandinho as well. So that
yeah,
pattern is always consistent. You sign for Guardiola as a CDM, so Rodri has positive days ahead. Even if you do not have the legs, you go back. So
yeah,
your career
yeah,
gets extended anyway. So sign for Guardiola if you're a CDM.
yeah.
So that's as far as him not being able to coach centre backs. I don't know. See, a coach need not be able to do everything. If he is not being able to do that, I
You
don't
get in
understand.
someone else.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't understand the rigidity of not hiring a defensive person.
exactly.
That's
Yeah,
what I don't understand. I understand you defend with your whole team. So that's something maybe Arteta. I don't think Arteta has that trait. Because
rigidity.
Arteta
Yeah,
has worked under managers who were defensive first.
Exactly, and
He's
not
worked under
that.
Moyes. He's worked under other managers.
I think
yeah.
Yeah.
Arteta also has that like a little less of an apprehension, you can say, with going with different,
Hmm.
because you can
Yeah,
see Arteta in his 1 year of management has been much more experimental and much more
hmm.
flexible with how he's taking games, what he's saying in the press conferences, what is the stance that he's taking than Guardiola.
Yeah,
So maybe the fact that Guardiola has been so good and he is the master and they collated at the pupil. So that is in that way he's different because then he is open to seeing like I could use some help here, and if that helps me win,
yeah,
then no one will care if I have five coaches in the backroom staff or if I did it on my own. That's
Yeah,
yeah.
something.
agreed. Yeah, so yeah, on that aspect as well. So, Laksh, the transfer business that Arsenal have done has been quite smart. Actually, from all the gloom and doom, at the beginning of the window when apparently the club did not have any money to spend, they
So
had Ozil,
forget that. It was a disaster.
I
We
think there's a
yeah.
Louis
common theme
said
here.
we gave Louis a
Oh,
2 year
come
contract.
on. Yeah. There's a common theme here. But no, there isn't really because their club has gone done something about it. It's
And
it's
one
not
thing.
common. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
common. It's not
Sorry,
common.
Sulaksh,
Sorry.
continue. Yeah,
Sorry.
No worries.
It's way worse than that, buddy. It's way worse than that. We'll get to that. We'll end the show and we'll end this episode on that. Don't worry. So
okay,
yeah.
go on.
So with the transfer business initially, when we started with the players that we had, so we went step by step. Initially, we gave Luis a contract, and I mean, people were worried about it for a day or two, but his FA Cup performances kind of like
Yeah,
gave us the feeling that all right, we can have this guy for 2 more years because Socrates is someone that Arteta has kind of kept out of his plan, so we know he's
yeah.
leaving. Apart from that, we got Mari as a extension. We got Cedric as an extension. After the season, there was a gap between when we did not know about Danny Ceballos. So we
Hmm.
were being told that Real Madrid planned to keep him and they're planning to move on Isco and a couple of more Bales moving on, which eventually did. But eventually Danny did come back, so that's a good addition to the team. The whole window has been all about Thomas Partey, and
Hmm.
I feel that since last June or July, we've just been talking about Thomas Partey as Arsenal fans. Since when Emery was going into his second season, we were shouting and calling for Thomas Partey. He is someone that we are being told is close to a deal. All Arsenal need to do is get the release clause signed. But I personally feel if it was that simple, he would be at the club and training and
Yeah,
getting ready to fit into the system already. So there is something that's holding it back. Whether Atletico wants someone who's Lacazette in return and not Torreira that like we're trying to give them, or we've been offering Guendouzi to everyone and no one seems to want him. So I guess he's here for another season as well. Moving on, we announced Gabriel. It was a good announcement. Uh, I mean, we merged it all in with the Willian signing, and Willian was really something that I personally was indifferent about because at the moment we signed him, I did not expect him to be a first team player for Arteta, and it was only after a week after he was signed and then Arteta's interviews came out and the talks came out. That's when we got to know that Arteta plans on playing him as a vital part. That's why he's been given that contract. So when Gabriel and Willian signed, it was good, and that was something that we really wanted. Another option at centre back, someone who's there for the long run, not one of the other ones who can perform and not perform. We need one stable guy. We need Van Dyke, and then we can settle for a
Mm.
Gomez or a Matip or something. So I see, I mean, not at that level, of course, but I see those kind of qualities in Gabriel. And as for the bumper signing of the season, I guess was definitely Aubameyang. So him extending his contract and announcing it in such a way, and I mean, it was really a boost that we needed because it would have all been down the banter lane if Aubameyang, even if he had stayed for the season but not signed the contract and like would have been looking forward to exiting next season, it would have been negative. And with Arsenal, one thing is that we go negative down as a bunch real fast. Like Arsenal fans, we go from 100 to 0 real quick. We'd been all up in arms about how Arteta can't keep a top player because he let Aubameyang go and everything. So I think the Aubameyang and the Gabriel signing were the only thing that we'd probably be. So I'm being realistic here. Other Arsenal fans, we're not getting anybody else. I've been listening to people telling, oh, if we get OR and Partey, we'll be challenging for the title. We are not challenging for the title, and we're not getting both of them. That's an unrealistic expectation to have. Even signing Partey for me is not going to happen because I've been supporting this club for long enough, and I know when the management is happy with meeting the bare minimum, and they have been doing it for a long time. They have been making the fans just as excited. If Sanchez leaves, make Ozil stay, get Aubameyang on the last day of the window because if we don't, the club's gonna melt. So meeting the bare minimum is something that this club has been doing very well, and the management has been doing very well, and that's something that they will continue to do. So I all we can do is hope that Arteta just turns out to be someone who wins us the league, and that's the only time when we'll be able to look forward and then build from strength. Otherwise, we'll be building from weaknesses, and while we're building something up, something else will be falling apart.
Yeah, that's a quite detailed answer there because I think there isn't much to pick beyond that for Arsenal. I think the trajectory has been iffy, and as far as the model of ownership that the club is under and the level of investment that the club sees as well, that's quite sad actually. But it is all legal, and this is how they're going to maintain the club. But at least on the flip side of it, you know there has been there has been effort from the club, from Mislintat to Emery, getting rid of him, then getting rid of Sanlehi,
Sanlehi,
and
Connolly.
yes, Sanlehi, and now with Vichai coming in, with Arteta now
But
being
here's the
more of a
pattern. The
British manager. Yeah.
Mm.
similarity in both of their like similarity in all of these regimes is they're bargain hunters. They're always looking
Mm.
for the best possible scenario without investing the least possible. So that's always the attitude we have. And whether you change the guy who's up front, if he's getting those instructions from the back, the face changing does not really matter that much.
Yeah.
That is where he's where they're leaving. That is why they're not staying beyond 8 months. They've changed three transfer representatives in the last 2 years, and that's
I Sorry, I just wanted to add, I'd be interested to see if Arteta does well with Arsenal. If, you know, he leads them into the Champions League, maybe third place this season or even next season. I want to see if these guys back him. Uh,
Yeah.
that's
I
when that's
Yeah, carry on, carry on.
no, yeah, I'll just finish. That's when I think, you'll get to know whether there's a future in terms of being able to win the title or not. If the guy is able to do it with a squad that's relatively that's not been invested in as much, right? In
you
terms of
can say
money.
average. I won't
No,
mind.
no, no, I don't want to say average because we won't know that till the end of the season. But what I do want to say is, with this level of investment, if he's able to do well with them, right? Then if he turns around and says, "Now back me, I want to take them to the next level," and the board says no, then I think it's just that's when Arsenal fans should feel bad. Uh, but if it's just one poor manager after the other, I think that's just bad luck.
Yeah, I agree. I
Mm.
agree. I don't think one would compare the previous managers that the club has had.
Yeah, without
Uh,
it, I think. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I think that about covers it. Let's have a look at the match that's
Yes.
actually in contention here. Sushil, do you expect any changes from the lineup from Chelsea? Do you expect the similar lineup to start? Any injury news that we might not have heard of?
Well, they're playing today, but they're playing a more or less, second string team. The only first team player in the squad is Van Dijk, and I think Van Dijk plays both games. Apart from that, I think we still have a slight issue at centre back, so I have a feeling Fabinho might come in there again. Henderson went off the last game with some knock. I don't know if he'll be back on time. Um, but that does mean there's a chance Thiago plays again. And that does mean that Kaita is going to start for sure, and probably James Milner or Ox, or I'm not really sure what he'll play with, but I think Kaita and Thiago are solid possibilities. Front three remains unchanged. I don't think anything changes there. Uh, Fullbacks don't change, and obviously the keeper stays the same. I think Klopp tries to play his strongest 11 against bigger teams. Obviously, in this particular situation, there's some injury concerns, so he may not play the full strength squad. But otherwise, I think he'll be relatively unchanged.
Yeah, and with Thiago's arrival, do you really think Henderson still remains a part of the first 11?
Yeah, I think so. I think it depends on the opposition. It's always good. I think the way I've started looking at the way Klopp selects his team is he tries to figure out what's the best midfield against that particular opposition. I think the front three and the back five are fixed, right? Nothing's ever going to change there. Maybe the centre back along with Van Dijk on and off. But apart from that, I think the midfield is where Klopp does a lot of his rotation because that's his engine. And the way he plays his midfield is he drives them into the ground. So it's impossible for them to play, long stretches, match after match for an extended period of time. So I think people like Gini, Hendo, Fabinho, those were our three best midfielders last season. And I think they'll probably be the top five this season as well. I think Thiago's better than all of them, but I wouldn't want to be the person who decides whether Thiago replaces Gini or Henderson. I think Fabinho is going to be in there for sure. Um, but I think Henderson brings something different to the midfield in the sense that he has this steel about him that Klopp really likes. So if anything, I think Gini would probably go before Henderson. But again, that's not the way Klopp chooses his team. So I think it'll probably depend on who we're playing.
All right, we got that. Coming to you, Sulaksh, how do you think the Gunners will line up this Monday night, right? Monday night,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's Monday night. I think that we'll probably go for a pretty similar lineup to the last two. One interesting fact was in the last game against West Ham. So we played Maitland-Niles as a left back in the opening game, which we won 3-0. And then we played Saka as a left back against West Ham, and we had Tierney pulling out, so we had to take a left match in that position as the left centre back, which wasn't really working out for us. So I think if Tierney is back, then we would have a similar lineup. It will be Leno at the back. We'd have Louise, Tierney, and Gabriel at the back three. We'll have Bellerin and Ainsley Maitland-Niles as the fullbacks. Xhaka Ceballos in the middle. And what I'd really like to see is Oba, Lacazette, and Pepe, but he'll probably go for Oba, Lacazette, and Willian, which also is. I mean, I would probably play Willian because of his experience of playing for a side that's beaten Chelsea a lot of times. Might just beaten Liverpool. Sorry, I'm sorry, beaten Liverpool
Yeah.
a lot of times.
No, I liked what you said earlier.
No, no, we've beaten Chelsea in the recent
Yeah.
so that's cool. But yeah, so I guess Willian would probably start on that right wing, and the go-to substitution would be taking Willian off and getting either Nketiah or Pepe if we ever get to a stage of influencing the game. That is.
No, I mean, I think it's not as unevenly matched as one would think.
Yeah,
You would
I
expect
think
you'd expect Liverpool to dominate possession. Of course, they have the better players. They've got a more defined system. Definitely, there's more confidence in that team, and they definitely play. They're playing at home, even though there are no fans, but still a familiar
Yeah.
pitch, familiar surroundings. So, one last thing that I want to ask Sulaksh is, bro, what do you guys plan on doing on your horrible Anfield record? Because you end up shipping at least 4 or 5 goals each time that you go to that stadium.
Uh,
Yes.
basically, all you can eat for Liverpool. Whatever they can find, they put it in the back of the net. So it's been a horrible record. It's been tough going to Anfield because even at the time when Liverpool weren't good, when Klopp had come in and just so Klopp, Brendan, and all of those times, we still somehow cocked it up and did not find it very easy to travel to Anfield. So the record is not in our favor, I would say, in the last 15 to 20 years, if you want to go all the way back. We've had a couple of iconic moments there, but overall, it's been a tough place for us to go. But keeping that aside, I like till now I've been very like respectful as an Arsenal fan, and I've been giving Susheel his due credit. And Liverpool is a great team, but when it comes to the match day, I am not delusional at all. I seriously feel we can get a result at Anfield. And with the form, I think that goes out of the window because we're playing with Arteta. We're playing a Liverpool side that we've beaten for the last two times we've played them. So that plays a different factor into it. We're not going as the whipping boys. We're not going on a bad run of form. So if ever there's a time to play Liverpool at Anfield with a good run of form, with two trophies under our belt and without fans, I think this is the time for us to probably break that voodoo and get that victory at Anfield, get that W.
All right. I also agree with you in that sense that I don't think the result is a foregone conclusion there, and I do think Arsenal have a chance. Though I generally think Liverpool are the favorites for the game. Just rounding it up, guys. Then your predictions for the match. We'll start with Sushil.
I'll go with 2-0 Liverpool.
Perfect. I would go with a 1-all, and I'll take that point any day of the week.
Yeah. For me, I think it might be actually be a draw, but I don't think it'll be a 1-all. I think it'll be a high-scoring draw in that sense. I think
No,
both
I
the
can't live
attacks.
through that again, please. No.
I think no,
I
I don't
saw
think
that.
I don't think it's going to be a 5-all like last year's League Cup. That's not what I'm talking about. When I say high scoring, it'll be a 2-all or maybe a 3-all. I don't know if
No,
it
if
gets
it's
to
an
that.
entertaining game,
I,
I don't mind losing.
You know,
As long as at any point of the game, Sushil is scared that we might lose this game, I'm happy. I just
there's
don't want to get turned
there's
over.
there's one guy I'm always scared of on that team, and that's Aubameyang.
yeah, man.
And I think,
Yeah,
yeah,
I feel when he was talking about the transfer business
yeah,
and he mentioned Aubameyang, I feel generally agree. He's the best
yeah,
signing for them this summer because
exactly.
he genuinely had options to leave, and if he's been convinced by Arteta,
Mm.
screw the money, man. Because if he left for anywhere else, he would have gotten paid somewhere near the same. So
Yeah,
especially at Barcelona, they tend to chuck money at everyone. So
Yeah.
yeah,
so
but Barcelona is not really
I
a
don't think it's that.
project anymore.
I don't think their football would have suited him either. I don't think they
And
played.
can you imagine living in that much drama? It'll
Yeah,
be like
man.
a soap opera your
Yeah,
entire
man.
life.
It's like one big boss house.
Yeah, exactly.
Massive. So
Messi,
Did
yeah,
Suarez
Messi's
leave?
big boss.
I read
yeah, yeah.
Suarez
Yeah, he's off to
left
Atletico.
because he failed his Italian passport exam because he
No, no, no,
cheated,
no,
or is
no,
that
no,
a
no, no. That's
So
a different thing. So
he was to go to Juventus, but he failed his Italian passport exam. He didn't fail it; he
oh,
cheated
he
apparently,
got caught
and
cheating?
someone ratted out whoever he tried to pay off. So, but he's
Must
off
be
to
an
Atletico.
Atletico guy.
It would do
yeah.
well.
Okay, it'll
I
be
think
interesting to see him in
he'll
Costa.
bang in 30 goals a season in the La Liga. Not
Yeah, yeah.
All right then. I think that about covers it. Thanks once again, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. You're joining
Thank you
me.
for having me. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Good
Yeah,
luck for the
looking.
weekend, Sulaksh.
Good luck to you, man. I hope the team, which is not the best, but still takes the victory.
I hope it's a good game.
I hope so. It'll be a
I'll
good
pro
game. Historically,
yeah,
we've had, like, if anything, even if it's been
it's
one-sided,
been good.
for one
Yeah,
team, it's been a good game. So it's never been a drab nil all draw. That's something
exactly.
you will not
Yeah.
get.
Hope you didn't jinx that right there. Yeah.
Yeah, I am. I also hope that it's a good watch for all of us. All of us neutrals, I would suggest, and probably not a neutral. Really, I'd want Liverpool to lose. Always want them to lose. So yeah, once again, though, but my prediction though is 2-all, as I said. So thank you once again, guys. Thank you for joining us. Thank you once again to the both of you, and I hope that we see a lot more of you in the coming videos and coming previews and reviews and everything else. All things Arsenal and Liverpool, of course. Thank you so much for watching as well to the viewers. Please do keep sharing, subscribing, and we'll see you the next time.